Hello, and welcome to number 7 in the Acts of Subversive Kindnesses for July. And I do hope you are making your responses to some of these, or indeed all of these. And in January, I will ask you to send them to me because I do have a publication planned. So there will be a submission opportunity. But please wait for the opportunity. Don't say no. Thank you. First of all, let's allow Patrick Kavanagh to kick off this month's theme. And I've taken this and another poem from his collected poems. Pilgrims. I saw them kneeling by the holy well. It was for life, life, life they prayed. Life that for a farmer is land enough to keep 2 horses. Life that is a healthy husband to a maid. I saw them climbing the holy mountain. It was the knowledge, knowledge, knowledge of life they pursued. Knowledge that is in knowing what fair to sell the cattle in. Knowledge that is in being able to cart an acre from a field. I saw them lying on the burning stones. It was vision, vision, vision they desired. Vision that is forecasting a mare's hour of foaling. Vision that is catching the idler newly hired. I saw them kneeling, climbing, and prostrate. It was love, love, love they found. Love that is Christ green walking from the summer headlands to his scarecrow cross in the turnip ground. Then longing folk to go on pilgrimages. Well, yes, here we are in July, after the hazy and concertinaed strangeness of the pandemic at its heights. There's still an overwhelming longing in so many of us to go on pilgrimages. Of course, we are not in April, but then April was only the beginning, wasn't it? What is it to be a pilgrim? We're used to hearing not only about Canterbury, but so many ways to Rome, Jerusalem, Mecca, Kairouan, Amritsar, the Ganges, Sripada. Closer to home for many, it will be Lindisfarne, Iona, Holy Island off Arran, Knock perhaps, or those ancient healing wells. It's a little like being told by the maths teachers that we were to write out our working and not rely on just the answer. A pilgrimage is never solely destination focused. The religious pathways are indeed the most famous, but as ever, I have no intention of sticking rigidly to the rules here. And the precedents are there. Childe Harold, well, Byron's pilgrim was dissipated rather than pious. Recently, we have lost the extraordinary Dervla Murphy, who famously, aged 10, received an atlas and a bike and worked out her route to India. In due course, she pedalled it. That surely has an aspect of pilgrimage. Let us tie our scallop shells to our backpacks. Do we not all have pilgrimages in our lives? What is a pilgrimage? Well, according to Wikipedia, a pilgrimage is a journey, often into an unknown or foreign place, where a person goes in search of new or expanded meaning about their self, others, nature, or a higher good. Through the experience, it can lead to a personal transformation, after which the pilgrim returns to their daily life. Here is Kai Miller in a short section taken from the collection The Cartographer Tries to Map a Way to Zion, a book which is in itself a kind of pilgrimage, I think. 21. So every night, while the map maker expands on his network of secret roads and slaving roads, marooning roads and backbush roads, what he has really concerned himself with is Zion. A question has wedged itself between his learning and awakening. How does one map a place that is not quite a place? How does one draw towards the heart? It's a fabulous collection. There are so many things I would like to have read from it. All going well, 2022 will take me on two journeys which I consider kinds of pilgrimages. Neither are primarily religious in their outline, and I wonder too, rather in the way we thought about bridges in poems, do we think about poems being so often forms of pilgrimages? Maybe we don't always know the destination when we set out to read or indeed to write, but there's a journey to be taken which is often far from direct, but is transformative. As Anne Carson says in Kudai, you could inscribe a curse on a ribbon of lead and bury it in the ground to lie unread for thousands of years. The point is not to find a reader. The point is the telling itself. To be a pilgrim, we can hardly ignore Bunyan. When I was wee, I was given a beautifully illustrated child's version of Pilgrim's Progress. I spent many happy hours working out maps and thoughts about that journey. I'll admit I found the hazards interesting indeed. Still do. It's almost a disappointment when he got to the destination for me. That's terrible. Anyway, the famous hymn remains a great favourite of mine. But I'm very, very irritated that some churches, including my own, use an updated version which edits out hobgoblins nor foul fiends. I'm well aware that Bunyan himself didn't approve of music in churches, so I can't really claim I'm standing up for him. But I don't think the church should fear metaphor. I refuse to let the hobgoblins go. I'm very fond of them. So I keep singing the older version, loudly. I hope, should the opportunity arise, you can join me and sing out for the hobgoblins. Pre-pandemic, a friend and I, having completed the Fife Coastal Walk, were on the lookout for other shared walks between our homes. She discovered the then soon-to-be-opened Fife Pilgrim Way. The advice was not to do it before the official opening, but as it tied up a series of existing rights of way, we did, twice. Passing through a village, we had a notion of a coffee and wondered about the local miners' welfare club, a goodly building. We asked a pair of passing locals if we might be served a coffee there, and ideally scones too. No, said the man, but they should. It's really just a pub. Are you pilgrims? As we were doing the walk unofficially, I replied, hopefully with some mystery, do we look like pilgrims? Aye, he said. At weekends, this place is hoochin' with pilgrims. Hoochin' with pilgrims. Eat your heart out, Santiago de Compostela. King Lassie is Pilgrim Central. And yes, it has a holy well, now much titivated since the official opening. I felt disappointed that my walking shoes, shorts and t-shirt gave me away as a pilgrim. I'd want more sort of medieval garb, and a big staff, really. Before we walked on, he urged me, you, yes, you, should start up a Mahusive petition so yon club can start selling coffees and scones to pilgrims. It's about time. The work of pilgrims is never done. There are such strange objects of veneration which can become the focus of many pilgrimages. I hesitate to be dismissive of any of them. Not all my choice, but somebody's choice. I do struggle, however, with the plastic-heavy shrines constructed in sand dunes and in woods destined not to rot, but to spoil the environment, rather like the man-made fabrics too often being hung around Clootie Wells. However, here's a bizarre act of devotion rendered in high kitsch. The Dickeyville Grotto in Wisconsin. Do check out the image, is really worth an internet search. And who better to introduce it to us than Mark Doty? Here are the first stanzas, 5 stanzas of his poem, which comes from a very excellent collection, Sweet Machine. Of course, all Mark Doty's collections are excellent. But here we are. The Dickeyville Grotto. The priest never used blueprints, but worked the many designs out in his head. Father Villarus, transplanted Alsatian, built around this plain Wisconsin red brick church a coral reef incrustation meant, the brochure says, to glorify America and heaven simultaneously. Thus, Mary and Columbus and the Sacred Heart equally enthroned, in a fantasia of quartz and seashells, broken dishes, stalactites, and stick-shift knobs. No separation of nature and art. Sometimes, I suppose, we set off on these planned trips, set our destination, and maybe only find out what we sought when we return to the ordinary life. For my paternal side of the family, the returning place will always be somewhere with a view of Benahee, the Mither Tap. My Dundee born and bred husband finds the Craig attachment to that hill very, very funny. But if you have roots in the Geary, you'll know. Maybe a bit like McCaig's take on Schiehallion, there's a Benahee everywhere. The important thing is... And at that point, I'd like to return to Kavanagh. Innocence. They laughed at one I loved, the triangular hill that hung under the big Forth. They said that I was bounded by the whitethorn hedges of the little farm and did not know the world. But I knew that love's doorway to life is the same doorway everywhere. Ashamed of what I loved, I flung her from me and called her a ditch, although she was smiling at me with violets. But now I am back in her briery arms. The dew of an Indian summer lies on bleached potato stalks. What age am I? I do not know what age I am. I am no mortal age. I know nothing of women, nothing of cities. I cannot die unless I walk outside these whitethorn hedges. We have so many pilgrimages to trace. As I write this, I'm planning one by bike into the light of Orkney's late June. There are many places there I want to see, never having been there. For me, there is one place above all those amazing Arcadian places. I will post a link in the comments to Corinne Polwarth's extraordinary rendition of the Freedom Come All Ye, sung in the Italian chapel in Lamb Home. It always makes me cry. In this reflection, we have spent a lot of time in Ireland, which perhaps isn't too surprising, a land crisscrossed with pilgrim routes, many far older than Christianity. Maybe there are new ones being drawn even now. Who's for a trip to Derry to see the walls, the sights, and the excellent new mural of those fabulous Derry girls? For that alone, I will take a very tenuous link and read a small part of Derry by the amazing Colette Bryce, and that's taken from her fabulous collection, The Whole and Rain-Domed Universe. And again, all her collections are fabulous. My candle flame faltered in a cup. We were stood beside the barracks in a line, chanting in rhythm, calling for a stop to strip searches for the Armagh women. The proof that Jesus was a Derry man? 33, unemployed and living with his mother, the old joke ran, while half the town were queuing at the brew. The fortunate others, bent to the task of typing out the checks. Boom! We jump at another explosion, windows buckling in their frames, and next you could view the smouldering omission in a row of shops, the missing tooth in a street. Jerry Adams' mouth was out of sync in the goldfish bowl of the TV screen, our dubious link with the world. Each summer, one by one, my sisters upped and crossed the water, armed with a grant from the government, the butler system's final flowers, until my own turn came about. I watched that place grow small before the plane ascended through the cloud, and I could not see it clearly anymore. Thank you for staying with me on this one too. I look forward to seeing you in August when we're going to consider somebody who probably doesn't really often go on pilgrimages. Thank you very much.